Okay, so opening Mariah Carey booster packs has my computer hooked up in all kinds of strange ways. So we're awkwardly starting here, but we're underway finally. The Blue Red Delver is on the left, Bomberman on the right. What would you vote for in the prediction poll, Rich?
I think Delver for sure. I think like Dragon's Rage Channeler and has given and Moctad Region have given the deck like so much proactive capability that it can just like kind of race any situation that's going on. And with like the uptick in meltdowns out of the sideboard too, like meltdown, it's weird that that became such a popular card. It makes sense because of Rosa Saga, but it's definitely a house in the matchup for sure. So, but this is a cool looking Bomberman deck. I'm taking a look at it. Blue white has three size. Esper Sentinel's pretty sick. Um,
Yeah,
really cool.
I've played against Esper Sentinel a bit now in Legacy. Oh, there it is. A bit now in Legacy and other formats as well. It's pretty prevalent in Historic. I don't know if you've played that, but the card's really good.
Yeah, it really is. It's very powerful. It's just like nobody wants to let you get a card, you know, and it's really it doesn't like lock them out like Dahlia does, but just even getting a card off it's pretty nice. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with that one for sure.
Yeah, I also like it. Like some of those hate bear cards, kind of like Spirit of the Labyrinth, can be sometimes anyway unfun. Uh, I don't mean that as a knock to any Death and Taxes players or anything like that, but you know, it any effect, much like Teferi, any effect that like disables your opponent from doing stuff can feel a little bit unfun. But Esper Sentinel feels kind of fair and fun to me.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I think it's like it hits the sweet spot because it's not actually stopping them from doing anything. It just kind of like changes the way they have to do things,
Right.
which is really cool. So I totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. Um.
Ooh, Psy off a cavern here. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And an LED getting the 1/1, especially when the Delver player is missing a land here, which is not only brutal because of the Esper Sentinel, but it's just going to stunt their development. The Force seems to be on the LED. They'll get to draw a card. Tough
That
way
is
to
a
do it.
that is a combo piece in this deck. The LED, a little bit different than something like you wouldn't force an LED in Storm usually, but maybe in this deck it makes sense.
For sure, because you like, especially when the cavern's on human, because then you can't stop the Bomberman,
Right.
which is kind of
Yep.
unfortunate.
Salvagers, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And playing as the Blue Red Delver deck these days, and I've seen and MTG Goldfish dropped an article today written by Joe Dyer and a bunch of other content creators and players, and just the topic in general of Legacy. There's a lot of talk about like Blue Red Delver being not only S tier but um, being a big part of the meta. As the Blue
Yeah.
Red Delver player, I kind of lost my train of thought for a moment, but as the Blue Red Delver player, what is the experience really like? Are you, seeing your opponent's first couple of plays, and you're like, oh man, this is such a rough matchup, I'm doomed. Like, does that still happen?
I think it's kind of like stopped happening before Modern Horizons 2, honestly. Like
Yeah,
Delver just it's really had the tools to kind of battle kind of anything for a long time now.
yeah,
I think it's an awkward situation for sure because I think the Delver decks over the past, let's say, year or it's it's weird because there's like eras where they've been banning things recently. Like 2 years ago it was Venom 6, and then it was Dreadhorde Arcanist at the start of this year, and now here we are. Like these decks have just been like really consistent, really stable mid range decks that kind of uh, dominate the format, but or did not dominate the format. I guess that is what they're doing, but they just really have so much game against everything. But at the same time, Delver's just even since its inception in like 2012 or whatever, it's always been like a really dominant force in Legacy.
yeah.
And it's just kind of like a stable force, and it will always be a stable force. I don't think they will effectively ever get rid of the cards that is stopping that. So it's definitely a weird spot. I think Delver does have tough matchups these days. I think Death and Taxes is pretty tough. I think the the new like blue green sun zenith deck, the
Yeah.
Yorion deck. That can be really tough. But it's certainly like the power of Ragavan and Channeler and Mugtide let you kind of play through anything, which is really powerful. I mean, it certainly is a little bit too much, but
Yeah. Like in years past, when I was playing Delver, um, I would like, let's say I sit down for a match, don't know what my opponent is on, and they have those starts where it's like, Mox Diamonds, um, cast an exploration, drop a wasteland, like those kind of starts, and like loam, get back tabernacle or something like those starts. Just like, this is gonna be rough, like. Are we past that now? Is Delver just like, yeah, whatever, you got aspiration, that's nice?
it's really it's tough. It's tough for me to say because I like
You're a powerful
my
wizard.
whenever I'm playing in those situations, my mind immediately goes to here's how I need to get out of this kind of situation. So it's just kind of
Yeah.
like forming the game plan. Like I land is tough, land is on the toughest side for sure. And it has been for a while, but there's so many tools in Delver to combat it, which is really nice. But the lands deck has gotten better. The Blue Zenith deck, as I just said, has gotten better. Death and Dexes has gotten a lot better. All these decks are really good. I mean, obviously they are not competing with Delver at the highest level because Delver is still just putting up, the best numbers, or the Ragavan decks, however you want to really frame it. But nevertheless, I mean, there's a lot of power in these other decks now too. So if Ragavan or Mugtide or whatever they're going to ban does eventually go, it will be interesting to see how other decks kind of shape up from there.
Yeah. Focusing on this game for a minute, there are a lot of Thopters created by Sai, and where's the advantage bar right now?
It looks like the Bomberman player should be a little bit ahead here. The question is, so last turn they were able to kind of untap and have free reign, and the best they could do was a Zoya Signet into Walking Ballista, which is not that intimidating. So that does kind of feel like a little bit of weakness from them. And the Delver player missed on lands for a while, so that means that their hand's kind of just like all gas. But that Cavern on human is going to be really problematic if they ever found a Bomberman, because there's just not going to be that many ways to stop it. And this Delver list doesn't have any Unholy Heats. It has one Brazen Borrower, and that's definitely going to be a problem if the Bomberman resolves, if the Oryak Salvages resolve. But Mugtide Region is going to be really sick here. So the onus is really on Bomberman to untap and have a very powerful turn, which they definitely can.
Right. Bomberman's one of those decks too that, like many decks in many formats, it's one of those decks that a few people are really dedicated to and play only that deck. And occasionally you run into some players who are like the Bomberman player, and they're just really, really good at playing that deck. And
Yeah,
that's just something I love about Magic. It's just like people kind of have their personality tied to a deck almost that nobody else plays, and they're just an expert at that deck. And the advantage of that often is that you confuse people who are not familiar with your deck. Like I see that happen a lot at local events.
for sure. Yeah, definitely. Format like Legacy and Modern are huge format for like format experts,
Yeah.
which is a huge draw for the format. A lot of people, which it kind of exacerbates the frustration people have with Delver being overrepresented, because as people who do play those decks a lot, kind of in general, it's about like a favorable Delver matchup, right? Like people played Nick Fit for a long time, and it'd be like, oh, my Nick Fit versus the Delver matchup's really good. It's tough for them. But I think the truth is that the best Delver players, like it was never as good. I think people are like not that good at like assessing how good their matchups in a lot of situations. But it is really when they have really good game plans, because the Bomberman players play against Delver far more than I play against Bomberman. So I don't have
Right.
as concise game plans in that matchup for sure.
Right. I mean, even something as silly as a sideboard spicy card that you might add to your blue red Delver deck, like you drop, let's say, a surprise true name. It's like, okay, I mean, like we could have saw that coming, but like a Bomberman deck who knows what's in the sideboard of this? It's just something I love about this
Yeah,
kind of a deck. You
yeah,
know?
absolutely. It could be literally anything
Yeah, it
for
could be.
sure.
You know, occasionally you'll see somebody with like an uncommon from Ixalan that everybody forgot about. You know,
Yeah, seriously.
kill you with. I love that.
Yeah, I
I
mean
wish I was that talented.
This sideboard has Meekstone, which that's an oft not seen card these days. But
True.
Meekstone's a sweet one.
It is. It is. Um. Okay. It looks like he's sending in the team now.
Yeah, that's interesting. So he Fateful absented the Mugtide Regent, and played a Retrofitter Foundry. So dealing with the Mugtide is nice, but these three are still going to do some work. It looks like the Bomberman player is pretty contented to just like chump block the Thopters, jump block with the Thopters. I would have been more interested, like 2 turns ago, in using the Thopters to trade for them, because you can
Like a
throw
triple block.
three. Yeah, you can throw
Okay.
3 in front of them, and if they have a bolt, then you can just use your walking ballista to ping it down. They'd have to have double bolt in order to punish you, and then you're getting through double bolt, which is good.
Yeah.
So I would have been pretty tempted to do that, but
Yeah.
we'll see how this plays out from here. Retrofitter Foundry is a powerful card, but Dragon's Veil Channeler is just so effective in that situation. I do think if they ban Ragavan, which I do think they should, that the deck building is going to get really interesting, because there still are just so many tools for Delver.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just before Modern Horizons 2, Blue Red Delver, and you hinted at this earlier, Blue Red Delver was still the top deck, and we had Sprite Dragons and Ethereal Foragers running around. Like, different creatures, same deck, still the best deck.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Expressive Iteration, is secretly one of the most powerful cards. It's not a secret at this point. I mean, it's been super, super dominating. But it makes sense that what's going on board here, that the Bomberman player wanted to turn the corner, because they were planning on turning those Thopters into 4/4s, which allows them to get pretty aggressive. But the gut shot's pretty good here. This gut shot's pretty clutch.
Yep. That Ballista maybe could have been a little bit better protected, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so I would, I would guess that the gut shot's going for the Thopter, but I guess it's going for the Ballista, because I think it is actually a little bit more problematic. The 4/4s are going to be more problematic than the Ballista as this game goes on. Because it looks like, so what we have, is it 10 to 13?
Yeah, 10 to 13.
Because they paid 2 life off the gut shot.
Right.
And now you're sending them down to 2. Oh, one, yeah. And then actually with the Retrofitter Foundry, that's actually going to make it pretty tricky.
Yep.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, Dragon Wave Channel is such a sick card. That card is just awesome.
You're talking about Expressive Iteration, but is Dragon's Rage Channeler a card that maybe should be considered for a ban as well? They made it like Goblin sideboards or something.
Yeah, it's just like a Relic of Progenitus variant.
Yeah, it's like a bad relic. I don't know. Whatever. You know what card I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think that's pretty cool that from now on we kind of have that going on.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, it really didn't take. I think by the time Modern Horizons 2 came out, and we're developing it more and we're seeing it influence the formats now, I think now it's just like I'm a full Modern Horizons apologist at this point. Like I really like Modern Horizons sets. They're really powerful. They push the bar. Modern Horizons 2, maybe it's a little bit too much like Modern Horizons 2 block in all the formats. But I think it's really exciting to get these new cards, and I think it's really exciting to get really powerful cards. I think it was too stale for too long. In retrospective, it's like, we played the same format forever, and they printed one card every 2 years that would get into the format. And now it's like, okay, now we're actually seeing real change and just exciting new cards. Yeah, I think it's really cool.
I agree. Also, it's like Modern has stayed mostly the same, as far as archetypes, but it's just been powered up, and I'm excited to see where that goes too. Like, will Modern in like let's say 2 to 4 years have Wasteland and Brainstorm? Maybe not those cards, but like eventually we'll get to that point where these formats will feel a little bit more similar. I'm excited about that. I think that'll be cool.
It's really interesting because they printed in Modern Horizons 2, they printed so many of those cards that were only legal in Legacy and introduced them into Modern. But
yeah,
and I actually thought that would have an effect of doing that, or making Modern more similar to Legacy. But it feels like it's gone actually a pretty different direction. Like obviously, Death Shadow and Blue Red Murktide are very similar to like Legacy decks, but there's so much diversity in that format because the format is different enough from Legacy. That's actually been really cool to see how Modern has developed. It seems like a really exciting format at the moment.
Yeah. And a conversation broke out about this in our Discord the other day. Modern just has so many more things that you can do with the staple cards, like Ragavan in Legacy. You see it in Blue Red Delver or maybe the Jeskai decks. For the most part, that's it. But in Modern, it'll be in a Grixis deck. It'll be in a Jund deck. It'll be in, you know what I'm saying? There's just like, you can do a lot of different things with every staple card. And I just love that about Modern.
Yeah, for sure. Because like in Legacy, it's really hard to look at a card like Ragavan and not naturally pair it with Daze and Force of Will. Like that's just a natural home for it, and that will always be the home for it. Well, Modern doesn't have that, and like it has Force of Negation and stuff like that. But like all of those cards differ in value based on what's going on. So there's a lot of like movement and changing and stuff like that. So I totally agree. Really cool. Really, really, really cool.
We're a couple of turns in now to this game. I guess Karn got countered.
Karn got exiled with Ragavan.
Okay.
Yep, and then the Delver player went Brainstorm into Double Channeler, which is a very powerful start.
Yep.
So if there's like any good follow up to that, this is probably going to be a pretty difficult game for the Bomberman player to win. But it looks like he's setting up for a powerful 4-drop, which if it can resolve, that could be really good. But Engineer Explosives. Oh, interesting. For 1, that's really powerful here. Wow, and there were no forcibles. Interesting. That's really powerful. Okay. Yeah, nice.
Nicely done.
Yeah. I was talking about how Meltdown would be really powerful against the artifact deck, but Engineer Explosives as a Wrath. I mean, it has picked up in popularity in Modern, and it's really effective for sure. And I think that's the kind of thing, the play that he just made of just like float the mana, play Engineer Explosives. It plays around Daze really nicely, which that has been one of the more exploitable parts of Delver over the past few months. Their permission spells have basically been narrowed down to Force Will, Daze, and Pyroblast. So there's really no good space in order to do that with a card like Engineer Explosives, because it's so cheap. You can't really Daze it. So because there's no Spell Pierce in the format at the moment, it's a lot more free to do that.
Yeah. What does this deck have? Prismatic Ending? Do you know?
I don't think so.
No.
I think the only removal is the Fateful Absence and Engineer Explosives.
Gotcha. Okay.
And a portable hole in the sideboard. I'm actually shocked not to see more portable holes in the main deck, but maybe they think that Fateful Absence is just like good enough.
Yeah. Portable Hole's a card that like everybody was talking about for like a month until Prismatic Ending got previewed. And
I know.
Never got a chance to shine.
Yeah. It was honestly a little sad. Like there have been some white removal options printed, and it's like this would be cool if Prismatic Ending wasn't just basically the best version of it.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I mean, I don't have any fundamental problems with Prismatic Ending. Removal that's too good it can be a problem, but like that's so far down the line of problems that Legacy has, and I am definitely lower on Legacy has ridiculous amount of problems in the format. I think Legacy is like, it could use a little bit of help, maybe like a ban or two, but like, even if it doesn't, it's like the games are still fun to me. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, what have you been? Because I know you've been playing Paper down in the city. What have you been playing personally?
So, recently I've been playing Mono Black Curses deck.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm not very good with it though. I'm like my record is really bad. I'm not gonna front, but I'm enjoying it, and I'm trying to get good at it. Um, I never really played Chalice Trinisphere decks in Legacy before, so um, it's been a learning experience. But I'm enjoying it though. I like it. I like the deck a lot, and like I played yesterday at the shop, and I played against Alurin. I played against the blue Zenith pile with Yorion, and I played against a white mono white painter deck.
Oh, cool.
And like those are all, in my opinion, not great matchups for the deck. And it
For
was still
sure.
close. I went 0-3, but it was still close like each round. So like maybe my local meta is not great for the deck too, is also weighing in, but like the curses deck wants to be like I feel like it's really good against decks like Reanimator, Storm, Death and Taxes. It's really good against stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You know, being ley lines in the main, anything trying to do anything with a graveyard, I'm just like accidentally murder them most of the time.
Yeah, I think that deck definitely suffered a little bit from the loss or from the addition of Prismatic Ending, because then like Chalice isn't as reliable as a kills, like a way to lock
Yeah,
out the game. So I think Prismatic Ending has really hurt Chalice decks more than decks like Delver for sure.
for sure.
Um,
Yep. Um. Anyway, yeah, that's what I've been playing. What do you have you been playing in paper?
Uh, basically not at all.
Okay.
Very little. Last week I took a trip down to my hometown and saw some friends and played some Paper Modern. Played Grixis Shadow, and that was a lot of fun for sure.
Nice.
I really enjoyed that. But basically not at all. I really want to. It's just like it doesn't quite feel safe enough for me yet to do
No,
anything like beyond
that's
like
totally
small
understandable.
gatherings. Yeah. Like
Um.
I definitely wanted to go to some of these bigger events that were going on. It's like I can't really fit it in, and I've been busy as heck anyway. So
Yeah. No, I feel you. I mean, I feel kind of lucky in a way. Like my local shop um requires vaccines and masks and all that stuff, so it just
yeah,
feels like a little bit it's just easier for me personally to feel like okay, I'll go hang.
totally.
But I see events posted all the time that are they're just like no rules at all, and I'm just like, I'm all right. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
I'll play some arena or something.
Yeah,
Go goof off on there. So I feel you.
yeah, totally. So this game's interesting. The Psy seems like it's going to start doing some work for sure. If there's a little bit more follow up, the Murktide region is definitely a problem if there's not enough artifacts to like keep that going. But the Esper Sentinel, this is one of the areas that Esper Sentinel is starting to lose its utility. Like it's really good early, but now with cards like Expensive Iteration allowing the Delver player to have more resources, they can play around that first trigger more easily and then just kind of play the game as normal. So
Yeah. What when I've seen Esper Sentinel really shine on I don't think this has happened in Legacy that I remember, but when you're able to increase his power,
yeah,
um that's where it gets really annoying.
for sure. Like in Modern, they're doing that with Colossus Hammer and stuff. It's
Oh,
really
that's right.
really
Yeah.
potent. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I've seen it in
Um,
historic too. I forget how they boost his power. But anyway, yeah, that's when it starts to
Probably,
be like,
probably Luminarch. I guess it probably was Luminarch aspirant in that format until they nerfed it. But
maybe. Yeah, whatever. But yeah. All right, something's getting bounced now?
yeah, probably the
Oh,
token
circling.
so
Okay.
they can attack in for lethal because this is an exact. There's an attack for 9. There are 9. Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
makes sense.
Great. We're going to game 3. Welcome everybody. We're here talking about Legacy with Rich Cali
Yo,
and
what up, Dukes?
watching some live games. Dukes, if you're in the Discord and you're bored and you want to join the call, feel free.
I assume it's getting pretty late over there.
I think it's the morning.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. The exact opposite.
Yeah. Oh, it's midday, he says. Okay.
Midday.
There you go.
I'm too bad with time zones.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
an American. Come on.
Typical an American.
Yeah.
Um,
This is pretty powerful. Starting off double cavern, Esper Sentinel into Walking Ballista to answer the threat. That's not bad.
yeah. Do you like? I mean, that's I guess a trade. Is that a good trade? I don't know.
It's it's kind of it's iffy. I mean, I don't think Walking Ballistas gets that much better in the matchup, to be honest.
Maybe it's
Like
part of the combo though.
yeah, like I think it being in the graveyard is fine because if you assemble the thing, oh man, this is interesting. He's playing the Mishra's Bubble, but not paying the one for the Esper Sentinel. So he gave him a card.
Interesting.
That's really interesting. And now dashing a Ragavan. Ooh, I don't know about the sequencing because you could just start by dashing a Ragavan because they're tapped out, so you get the maximum amount of information. I suppose by playing the bauble first, you get to know if you want to dash the Ragavan or cast it. But to me, I think you guaranteed want to dash the Ragavan first because the Esper Sentinel can block it in the future if you just cast it. So that's not a guarantee, and it gives you the mana to play around the Esper Sentinel with the Mishra's Bauble. So I think that sequencing could have been a little bit more optimized there, for sure.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I also think, if I'm in the Delver seat and my opponent wants to trade a Walking Ballista for a Dragon's Rage Channeler, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I'm generally okay with that too. I mean, I think I definitely wouldn't let them untap with the Channeler because you don't want to give them the extra surveils.
Yeah.
But for sure, this challenge just resolved. So if there's I would also be attacking with the Esper Sentinel there too because the chalice kind of tells you that the Ragavan's going to the Ragavan can't be cast, and if your opponent has Meltdown to answer the chalice, it's going to kill the Esper Sentinel as well. So it's just kind of a free point of damage there.
Yeah.
It is just a point though, so
Yeah. Sometimes it matters though.
for sure. But having this other saga is going to give him a lot of play as this game goes on.
Okay.
Okay,
No.
so that's going to be countered by Chalice. He's missequenced here. He played that before he Meltdown, which is bit of an error.
Yeah.
But it is going to pick up both of those, which is nice. But it does. One of the unfortunate things about using the Meltdown now is this Urza Saga's on board. So you know that's going to be a problem for you as this game goes on. Like, you kind of want to be when I'm playing with Meltdown in this situation, you kind of want to be as patient as possible. Because you really want to make sure you can get as much value out of it off the Urza Saga as possible. He didn't miss the Sentinel trigger. He paid for it because he Meltdown. He tapped 3 mana for the Meltdown. Like I just saw somebody in chat mention that he paid 3 mana for the Meltdown, and you only need to Meltdown for 2 mana in order to kill the Chalice and the Sentinel because that's X is 1. So he paid for it. So
did he sack a treasure? Is that what
he sacked the treasure to play the Channeler, but he would have to sack the treasure's going to die anyway. So
gotcha.
Treasure, he played the treasure, played the Dragon's Rage Channel. Obviously, he'd be in a better situation if he had a Dragon's Rage Channel on the board here, but nevertheless.
Yep. Meltdown we touched on earlier. It's another card that's like has come out of nowhere, was
Seriously.
completely inexistent a year ago in this format, and it's become necessary because of Urza Saga. Really, that's the only reason.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
and
it's
I think
weird.
that's cool.
It is cool. I totally agree. I think, and that's like the depth of Legacy, and that's like the thing with cards like Urza Saga and stuff. It's just like eventually, if you really need to find an answer to something, there's answers for cards, because Legacy just is such a deep card pool of wild stuff. So people going back into the depth of Meltdown to find a good answer. It's really cool.
Yeah, we needed a Meltdown for Snow.
Yeah, for sure.
We needed. That's the one we were missing.
Absolutely,
we needed a Meltdown for Snow. That's my one complaint.
Yeah, well, the problem is that once you turn a card into a cantrip, then there's no way to answer it. It's just like definitely really problematic for sure. But I'm obviously the format's way better off not having Arcrim's Astrolabe. Maybe some Snow apologists in the room will disagree with that, but
Well, it would have been fine if we had a meltdown for snow.
Yeah.
That would have solved that problem right away. I think people would have been like taking their, you remember when people were running Snowlands in their Delver deck to try to throw you off? That would have ended immediately.
Immediately. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
If there was a meltdown for snow. That
Yeah,
that
that's
was
the kind
Blizzard's biggest mistake.
yeah. Biggest mistake. Yeah. That's the kind of thing like I used to do when it was just like after Snowlands, and then it was like, listen, if I'm sitting down against somebody, they know what I'm playing. I might as well just play pretty basics.
Yeah. Have you ever? I mean, do you do this? Do you show up to events and it's like, oh, surprise, I'm on Storm? Like, do you do that?
I at the start of 2019, I qualified for one of those Mox qualifier events.
Is that on
And
Magic Online?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and basically like the winner gets a Pro Tour invite, and it's like 20. It's like one of those 24 player events and everything. So
Oh, right.
like
Yeah.
people would know what like basically know what everybody was on. You could figure it out. So I was testing other decks in order to figure it out, but it's just like it takes a lot to not play Delver. It's like I'm good at it, and it's a very good deck, so it's
Yeah.
going to answer a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
I got second in that event, but not first. Not good. Not good enough.
Next time. Have you been trying to play competitively online lately, or is just not much going on? I don't have Magic Online, so I don't really know what's going on.
I've been so busy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've had to miss so many of the. I played one of the like the Legacy Showcase challenges a few weeks back and had like lost in the last round and missed top 8, which is pretty rough. But I really just haven't had the time to fit it in. It's been pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I really miss playing competitively. Honestly, like I miss like the high stakes events. They're just so fun.
Yeah. I mean, I missed them even as a spectator. They'll
Yeah,
be back.
yeah, totally.
All right. Here's Murkside, everybody's favorite.
Yeah, pretty good here. Pretty good here. I don't know. It looks like it's potentially a 6/6, which is pretty significant. Um, and he still has 2 cards in hand, but this Cavern Human could still present an issue if the Bomberman player ever finds an Auric Salvages. They just can't seem to locate that card.
Oh yeah, we
Teferi.
haven't. I forgot all about it almost.
Seriously.
We haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Teferi resolving is pretty big here.
Yeah.
It's probably just gonna die realistically. Um, I don't know if he drew the card off the Teferi. I didn't see, um, but yeah, like that's definitely a big game. That's a good start here. Pyroblast, interesting. So does this Dragon's Face Channeler not have Delirium? Because you could just, if it has Delirium, you could just attack Teferi and just kind of move on with that.
Oh. Yeah. What
Looks
is he
like
playing around?
Yeah,
Not
I don't
sure.
know, because the deck also doesn't have the Bomberman deck doesn't have any like instant speed interaction. Well, not much. Not for one Lotus Battle.
Yeah. Maybe he wants to stay back to block for some reason. I don't know. It's a little weird.
Maybe it doesn't have Delirium. No, there's definitely a Ponder in there though, and I know there's a creature because I saw a Ponder last turn. So,
Creature, instant, land.
oh, maybe. Oh, and artifact. I see Mishra's Bauble.
Okay.
So, oh, okay, a little weird, but
All right.
Pyroblast doesn't have that many targets in the matchup. It looks like it's just Sai and the Teferi,
All
and
right, that's fair
Intuition,
then,
I suppose. But
maybe an aggressive play.
yeah, being aggressive when you're going to follow it up with the Moktai is pretty nice. Definitely.
It seems like a lot of people are in this mode now too, where maybe and I'm sure you talk to people like this all the time. They're sick of Legacy. They're over it because of Blue Red Delver and whatever else, and they're just playing really spicy stuff. Is there anything that you've seen lately that is just like, wow, that's a cool deck?
I've been doing a lot of deck guides because, like, there have been a lot of really innovative decks built over the past few months. So I've definitely seen that, and it's very cool. Honestly, like you were talking about curses earlier. There's like a Dothy Voidwalker Helm of Obedience deck, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I think the Esper Splash Express Federation deck is actually really cool. And it was really sick to see that deck show up. Um, and I'll talk about that more in a second. Looks like we have a game-ending play here potentially. Infinite mana with Auriok Salvagers, get the Walking Bluster back.
It looks like that's what's happening.
He played the LED, and then the Salvagers resolved, and there were no points of interaction for that. And I mean, this is a loop. I don't see any Force Wills getting cast.
Is he explaining the combo? I guess.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, there have been a lot of spicy decks in Legacy lately.
Yeah.
Which, I think that goes to show like the coolness of Modern Horizons too. From my perspective, it's like Delver's always going to police a bunch of decks. It doesn't matter like Modern Horizons or not. It's always going to police these decks. So it's really cool to see all this innovation come out. Absolutely.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, looks like we had a Bomberman victory.
Bomberman victory. It was.